from the Rookery, it's Chicken Tonight. And it's your host Selfie and her assistant Igor. And of course, the Ragnarok chickens. Hey folks, so we have a bit of a thing today where we let the chicks out to go free range for the first time in their lives. And so they've had about a half hour to an hour hanging out outside and just enjoying the grass and the natural environment. It was a pretty warm day. So what you're looking at here is the result of their outdoor excursion, and that is, while they were outside, they discovered an ant's nest. And they spent a lot of time pecking and scratching and basically eating up a whole bunch of delicious ants. So when we returned them to this cage, they have basically gone a little bit bonkers in their desperation for more ants, have dug up all the sawdust up the front of the cage and are now attempting to peck at the baseboard, the aluminum baseboard, in order to find more ants, which unfortunately do not exist on the inside of their lovely little environment. Now we did get some footage of the chicks as they wandered outside, but unfortunately the audio for that footage was badly corrupted. So instead of showing it to you guys tonight, we'll be trying to fix the audio up, or at least put some music on, and we'll put it on the show on Friday. But you will get to see them in their first outdoor excursion. The chicks generally enjoyed their outdoor excursion, and they did discover the following things. They discovered grass seeds and ants, and at one point a bug landed on Aurora and was then promptly eaten by Blue Diamond. So because of that little taste of freedom, you can see that they're just desperately digging up, well, invisible ants. And they're not actually eating anything there, which I find extremely amusing. Now, any sounds you hear in the background that is not this weird hammering are of Igor, who is currently being punished for his sins. He knows what he's done. Today we're going to attempt using this old toothbrush, let me just put that in there, to re-dye the chicks, since their colors are actually coming off. Igor, would you care to tell the children at home why you are being punished?
I did not follow orders.
Could you repeat that for the children, Igor?
I did not follow Mistress's orders.
Yeah, there you go. Igor did not follow Dr. Selfie's orders for science research and is now being punished for his sins. We are going to try just to dye their backs and wing feathers, but I'm not really entirely confident that we'll get much on them because they are a lot bigger and surprisingly a lot wigglier than they used to be. So I'm just going to glove up and we'll get to it. Glove up for science! So we're going to raise the camera a little because it's very hard. We've actually got the camera hanging down on the perch, which the chicks have never used. So let's bring up our first little chick here, and is this aqua?
Appears to be aqua.
So we don't have aqua,
Not yet.
so we'll just pick up we'll pick up chili pepper here. Come here, chili pepper. Shh, 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 shh. Okay. Igor, clean the chicken. Clean it. Thankfully, the chicks are not kicking the sawdust out of the cage. They are just kicking it mostly into the cage, which is great because we've only just cleaned up out here. We've recently vacuumed the chicks' living quarters. So an application of dye onto the chick. Oh, some of it's gone into the cage. And there we go. That's chili pepper colored. I'll just grab the next chick, which is... Oh. Now, because chili pepper has red dye, I'm going to have to put her in her own space because the chicks are actually attacking the red dye. Igor, bring forth ye plastic bucket.
Predator train coming up.
Stay here. Sorry folks, we're just putting chili pepper in a small crate by herself so that she can recover from being dyed. And we may have to wash her a second time if it turns out that the other chicks attack her red dye spot. So we're just going to grab Ursula now. Hello Ursula. Igor, wash the toothbrush. Paint, Igor, paint!
More?
Yeah, a little bit more, Igor. More. Thank you, Igor. Down you go, Ursula. We may need the hairdryer for chili pepper. We will only be putting dye on some of the wings because it's easier to see the dye when it's on their backs for us when we're identifying the chickens. That loud screeching is Chili Pepper, who's really upset about being by herself.
Hairdryer ready.
Come here, let me.
Not too close.
So, what do you think? Do you want me to hold it, Igor? Okay, come here.
Might have to wash a bit off.
close, Igor. Okay, I think it's ready. Let's see if that works well for chili. Okay, that seems to be all right for chili. So let's go with Blue Diamond, who will get a small blue spot on the left wing and Blue Velvet on the right. Come here, Blue Diamond. Wash, Igor, wash. Just gonna move. Okay. Paint, Igor, paint.
Okay, you have to raise her up so the others can't get to it.
Where's Blue Velvet? There you are. Come here. And Blue Velvet's getting it on the on the right wing. Let me just hold them nice and steady. Paint, Igor, paint. Wash, Igor, wash. Paint, Igor. Oh. There we go. And now we go on to the slightly more difficult chicks. So we'll grab, gotcha, that square here, our beautiful, beautiful rooster boy. Hold still, Square. Oh, what? I'm just trying to get Square to hold still. Square's flapping his wings like crazy. Alright, I've got him.
Square green?
Square's green. No, 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 no. Oh, 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 oh. Paint, Igor, paint. Oh, there goes Square.
Well available.
Okay, do we want to do the dual colored chicks first, Igor?
Absolutely.
Or the pink, we have one pink chick. We'll do the pink chick first. Come here. Come on, Emily. Hold still. Okay, I have Emily. Oh, 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 oh. No, no, Emily. Oh, there she goes. Let me just grab her. I was too soft. I gotta hold her as strongly as I held Square.
You're a strong-willed one.
Yep. Oh, there she goes. Do you want to try and get more on her, Igor?
No, I think that's good.
All right.
We've got a blue and red one, haven't we?
I'm getting, no, it's blue and pink. And that will be Aurora.
We don't have any more purple, do we?
No, we do not have any more purple. We have an aqua.
Which one are we doing?
We'll do... do we have the aqua?
Yes.
Okay, we'll do summary bar. Come here, summary. Gotcha. Clean, Igor, clean! That's done?
Yep.
And now Aurora, who will have her wings dyed because she's dual colored. I'm just holding out Aurora in such a way that one wing is visible, and that's pink. I think we're only managing to get some slightly pink wingtips here, but that's okay. Now onto the other side of Aurora. Oh. Here we go. Coffee is actually pecking my glove, not Aurora's toes. Well, and now orb. Let's go grab an orb. Now where is orb? Is he hiding? No, hang on. Who's this?
Orb.
There we are, orb. Thought you could hide under the thing, did you?
Colours.
Orb is green on the left and pink on the right, although I've got a lot of blue on my hands. Let's spread orb out. There we are. There we go. Some sort of pretty feather outlining, I suppose.
Pink on the other.
And pink on the right. Hang on. Gotcha. Oh, there's a nice wing spread from orb. There we go. Ow. Ow.
Oh, you nasty.
Orb's pecking me.
You suffer for art.
We suffer for... Ow! Here we go. I don't think we got very much on. Oh, there orb goes. Alright.
I should have done red.
You should have done red, but that's fine. Orb will just have a green wing, we'll have to remember that.
The same, I can do that.
I don't think Orb is going to happily coordinate with us on that. So I think we've got all the chicks coloured and most of me coloured.
Is this one Orb?
Yeah, that's Orb. Do you want me to grab Orb again?
Yeah, one more shot.
Alright, come here. Alright, Orb. Hold still, dear. Alright, let's spread your little wing. Up, up, up. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Boop. And now Coffee.
I've got nothing.
Coffee got nothing, but I'm just going to hold Coffee so that Coffee has the same science enjoyment. Go. There we go. For science!
To the punishment.
And now as Igor goes back to his punishment box, we'll show you how the chicks are doing at the moment with their brand new beautiful colors, which are slowly drying. Let's just move you over to the left. Whee. Here we go. Now, we used to have a nameplate for the chicks on the water thing, but unfortunately, since they've gotten bigger, they've gotten also a lot more aggressive and more curious, so they've started to attack it to the point where it was unreadable. So I have prepared a brand new name thingy, which we will place on top of the water container much higher than previously, in hopes that they will not attack it. We can only live in hope. Right up the top here. That should stop them from attacking it a little bit more. There we go. Alongside being more aggressive in general, the chicks have also gotten a lot more vocal than usual. So this morning, just at dawn, we were awoken at about 6:30 in the morning with them going feed, 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 feed. And when I came out, I discovered that they were all circling the area where the feed bin is usually, with their necks outstretched, their wings outstretched, and their beaks to the sky, yelling, feed, feed, feed. So I had little choice but to give them their feed for that morning. And there was such a scrum. But now apparently the new interest seems to be invisible ants. And we hope that they will actually return back to feeding as per normal. We will work on making a new graphic that can be displayed in the corner with their names on it, and the new dye colors. But in the meantime, we think that this little sign should suffice. as long as we remember that diamond's on the left and velvet's on the right. So please don't forget that the chicks are being dyed to raise funds for breast cancer, and I'll be putting up my Go Pink campaign address into the chat just in a few seconds. Here we go. Ooh. Well, we're sorry that the campaign won't accept your credit card. We can make an arrangement offline later today. So as the chicks scratch away, we'll head off. I'll head off to help Igor a little bit, and I'll be by every so often to answer your questions. We will not be taking out the chicks' food early like we have the last couple of days, since I want to let the paint dry, but also I think you guys have heard their nighttime distress call many times as it is. Oswell has asked what the purpose of the comb is, so I'm guessing you guys have noticed that the chicks are actually starting to get their comb in. And I'll just glove up here for a second, and I'll grab Coffee and show you guys the comb that Coffee is growing. Here you come, Coffee, come on. So you can see, other than Coffee's fine and beautiful wings, right down the middle there is Coffee's little comb on his beak. Now, both male and female chickens can grow combs. Most breeds will, not all breeds have combs. Silky chickens, I think, don't really have combs. But both male and female chickens will grow combs. The difference between the male and the female chicken, the hen and the rooster, is that the hen's comb is slightly smaller than the rooster's comb. Now, the purpose of the comb for any chicken is actually temperature control. Now, chicks don't have sweat glands on their bodies. The pores that are on their bodies are specifically just for feather shafts. So, the comb is actually where they can send their blood up above their head, and it's like since the comb is a big fin on the top of their head, it actually cools down their blood. So they can actually vary the amount of blood that goes through the comb to cool down on a hot day or to keep warm on a cool day. So that's actually the use of the comb. Now, the wattles, which are on the side of the chicken's head, those two fleshy lobes of skin that hang down off the side, are actually the same as the comb. They are actually there to help the chicken stay cool during hot weather, and both male and female chickens have them. Same with the comb, the difference between a male and a female chicken's wattle would just be the size. There are a number of issues that can happen with combs and wattles that are basically diseases, or rather sort of issues that they can get, and one of the main things is the comb falling over to one side. The comb normally stands right up on the top of the chicken's head like a little mohawk, but it can sometimes flop over to one or the other. Now that's either because the chicken has grown its comb too tall, or it's damaged, or it has some dehydration issues. If it has dehydration or poor circulation, that comb can actually fall over onto one side. The other thing is that it can get, because the comb is actually quite soft, it can actually get some parasites eating it, and that is another issue. We've got a question about chickens using their wings for temperature control, and chickens in general don't use their wings for temperature control. Their wings are actually there for flying. They don't, I mean, we've actually observed that some of these chicks have actually started to do a few short hops, and they can fly in tiny little distances. And we observed that a lot when they were outside, sort of challenging each other. Their wings can also be used to scare off predators and to protect, their young, but they're not really used for any temperature control that I know of. I'll definitely take a look into it and see if that is correct or not, but as far as I know, they just use their wings for flying and self-protection. None of the chicks, as far as I've observed, have any wattles growing. I think they come in a little later in life. They just have the beginnings of their little combs coming up off their beaks, but I haven't really observed any growth of any wattles yet. The chicks are pecking the ground underneath the food bin and just next to the warmer, and I think those are the only two spots where they've apparently found invisible ants. So that non-stop hammering is them trying to find more invisible ants. Yes, they are pecking quite loudly next to the warmer. They're also pecking each other a little bit because of the dye, which is apparently delicious. I might actually lower the food bin to discourage the pecking underneath it and see if they actually eat feed rather than invisible ants. Oh, apparently that was successful. Oh, you lot. Owls will ask that at this 1 week point, what was the one surprise we were not prepared for when we're rearing the chicks? Actually, that is a very strange two-part question in that what we weren't prepared for was not having an outdoor cage for them when they arrived. So at this point, we are actually still waiting on their outdoor chicken run, which will be arriving on Tuesday next week, as far as the makers of the chicken run have let me know. When we first ordered the chicks, we actually ordered their chicken run at the same time. And I bought I had a long list of chicken runs that I was really interested in, and I basically called up the first one, and they said they had plenty of stock of chicken runs and that they were able to fill my order. And then the COVID hit, and what happened was that shop no longer had any more stock of chicken runs, and mentioned to me that the run would arrive about 4 days before the chicks arrived, which I was fine with. About a day before the chicks arrived, I received another phone call stating that they had absolutely no stock. It was coming from China, and they were not going to be able to fill my order until 8 weeks after the chickens had arrived, at which point the chickens would be non-existent and I would not have any space to put them. So I had to actually cancel my order and then ring around all over the place to find someone to build me a chicken run at short notice. So that was the biggest surprise that we had for rearing the chicks. The other thing, which is something that's caused by the chicks themselves, is the amount of noise a chick that is indoors makes. Now, I don't know if you guys have actually heard a number of times where I've played that good evening sound that the chicks make, the distress calls, and all of that. They can get extremely loud, especially in the early mornings if we haven't woken up when the sun's up. So if the sun's up and we're not up, we basically are awakened by the chicks screaming for their breakfast. And they really do scream quite loudly. Loud enough to penetrate through our bedroom door right into our bedroom. So that's something that we were completely unprepared for. Like, I expected them to be, making adorable peeping sounds, but I never expected them to shriek. And they do shriek. We have tried covering the cage with a cloth to keep the chicks a little bit more quiet, but they've actually attacked the cloth and made a whole bunch of holes in it, and then they were able to see the sun, so that was a moot point. I'm just going to move you guys over to the other side so you can watch them digging in their desperation invisible ant hole. So yeah, they are a lot fiercer than we expected. While their beaks are still quite nubby, so I can get pecked a little and not get too hurt, they can, with some determination on their part, basically destroy things. Thankfully, the cage is made out of aluminum and metal, so they, despite all their desperate pecking right here, they haven't actually managed to make a dent in it. So it's a steel and aluminum cage, and that's really what's stopping them from making dents in anything. But it looks like the colors are drying really nicely on their feathers. Not all of the colors have soaked through because they have quite a bit of oil on their backs, but most of them have been dyed properly. The flooring of the cage is aluminum, and it sits just on top of the steel rails of the cage, and it can be lifted up and tilted to one side so that all the sawdust comes out. And that's what we did this afternoon. We actually removed about I removed about half of the sawdust, and then Igor came in, got very excited, and removed the rest of it. And we've actually used that sawdust to supplement our compost bin and put and also to mulch some of our crops outside. So it is actually a fairly easy to clean cage, and we're very thankful for that, because it can be quite difficult to clean a lot of the more commercially built cages. So it's a really sort of sturdy aluminum bottom there. Speaking of cage floorings and stuff, it's actually time to raise the chicks' brooder plate, because yesterday we've seen them crowd round the front of their brooder plate, which is a sign that it needs to be raised. We didn't have as much of a spread throughout the plate. So I'm going to take a measurement of our tallest chick, and we'll see how tall he gets, and then we'll adjust the plate accordingly. Where is the measuring stick? Now, the chicks have actually gotten way taller than the ruler that we usually use to measure them. So I'm just going to grab this chopstick and see if I can't get a chick to stand up to it. Here we are. Now, stand up tall and straight. There we are, tall and straight. And I'll just bring the... And it's just about underneath that little flag. So I'll just take out the brooder and adjust. Sorry, coming through. Oof. That ruler. just raise the brooder here and I'll put it back in a short while. But I think it's a testament to the chicks' rate of growth that they've managed to go from the brooder actually having to be lowered a little bit to now it's right all the way extended. I'm just going to put that in there. Shoo, 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 shoo. Come on, let's get that brooder in there. And in it goes. I'm just going to move you guys over to the left so you can see how high the brooder's been raised this time, which is pretty much all the way to the top that it can go. Oh. There we go, the brooder's raised all the way up and the back's about half of that. I'm just trying to move the wire out of the cage because we've had some incidents of the chicks actually attacking the wire for the camera this afternoon, and they've managed to bring it down. Take your little pink ball out. There we go. What's going on there? I think I've actually adjusted the brooder incorrectly because it's tilted very heavily to one side. I'm gonna go fix that. What have I done? That's weird. That looks about the same height. So why isn't it sitting flat? Ah, there's a divot there. There we go, much better. We have tried hanging the roost swing again on multiple occasions, but the chicks don't seem to have any particular interest in it other than to try and murder it whenever they come across it. I've done some reading up, and it turns out that unlike most other chickens, the meat chicken does not have a roosting instinct. Part of that is because they're a little too heavy to roost. And the other part is that, how'd you get? Is that they simply like to nest on the ground. So if you see how the chicks are sitting on the floor on the inside of their brooder area, that's basically how they will sit on the inside of their pen. We're not sure exactly why, other than the weight of the chick that makes them disinterested in roosting. But given that they don't have a satiation, like they're not well known for their high intelligence, we expect that maybe some of that brain space has been used up with other things. I'm not sure at all. But they certainly don't have any roosting instinct whatsoever. No, the chicks don't seem very impressed by the red ball. I have seen videos of other chicks playing with balls and other toys, and they apparently like hanging toys and hanging treats. But these chicks are mostly interested in eating, sleeping, and drinking, and don't have any particular interest in anything else. They are very affectionate with each other, that being said. Orlando 93 observes that the chicks have very prominent breasts right now, and that is correct. They are actually starting to get their sort of big chicken shape. And the genetics for the chest of the chicken come from what they call the Indian game or Cornish game part of their genetics. They are what you call a Cornish cross, and the Indian game and Cornish game hens, we don't know if exactly what their genetics are. They have, but we can assume that they have ancestors who do have that prominent chest. And that's a selection entirely because breast meat is very popular. One of the interesting things we have observed with the chicks is that when they first arrived, when they were small and cute, they're still cute. Sorry, I didn't mean to insult you. You are still cute. Yes, you are. But when they first arrived, they were quite soft and squishy and small. And now when you lift them, not only are they heavier, but they're very firm. They actually have a very firm feel to their bodies. They're no longer that squishy little fatty chicken that they were, but really they're quite solid. Elsewell asks, what's the one thing that we were worried about before we started chick rearing that we had managed to resolve? The one thing that I was actually really worried about was the smell. When you visit chicken farms, every time I've visited a chicken farm, no matter where I've gone, the chickens in those farms really smell quite hideous. We actually found a place called Evans Chickens up near, where was Evans Chickens, Igor?
Western Sydney.
Western Sydney?
Near the IKEA.
Near the IKEA in Western Sydney, and their chickens did not stink whatsoever. So I asked them what the secret sauce was, and they mentioned that it's not just a matter of cleaning the chick pens regularly. They don't clean their chick pens very often. They clean their chick pens once a month, but it is a matter of putting down enough sawdust to stop the chicken poop from actually turning into ammonia, because the stinky smell you get from chicken poo is basically because chicken poo has a high nitrogen content, it turns into ammonia, and that's a really smelly chemical. So what you have to do is to provide enough carbon in the chicken's pen to prevent that poo from releasing that ammonia gas. So I took their advice to hand, and they said basically every day when you see poo in the cage, just cover it up with a bit more sawdust and you'll have a non-stinky cage. And that's actually worked for the most part. The problem we haven't managed to resolve so far is the problem of chicken baths. The chicks here seem to prefer to wallow and sort of half bathe in the sawdust, and they absolutely will not bath in the play sand that we've provided for them whatsoever. Some research suggests that it may be because the play sand bath that we gave them is too small, because they are actually quite large sized chicks. So we may actually have to give them a much larger tray than I originally planned. And yes, the chicken smell problem has been resolved for the most part. Chicks still smell like chicks, and they still smell a teeny bit stinky, but not hideously stinky. So we're coming to the end of our time together, and I'm going to need to eat my dinner, and the chicks are going to need to have their dinner taken away. So thanks for coming to this evening's Chicken Tonight, and we hope to see you again in 2 days' time. Take care of yourselves, stay healthy, and bye-bye!